My name is Denise Warren. I'm 48 years old, and this morning I'm sitting at my kitchen table with a swollen eye and a bruise spreading across my jaw like spilled ink. Last night, my husband Marcus hit me so hard I saw stars, and I didn't fight back. I didn't scream. I just stood there tasting copper, feeling my face throb like a second heartbeat. But this morning, when Marcus came downstairs expecting me to apologize for whatever he decided was my fault, his whole world flipped upside down. The color drained from his face the second he saw who was sitting at my dining table. That look of pure terror in his eyes. It was almost worth every single tear I'd cried alone in the dark. Before I tell you what happened next, if you believe no woman should ever have to live through what I'm about to share, please hit that like button right now. Comment below what city you're watching from, because I need to know someone out there hears me. Someone out there understands what it's like to love a man so completely that you forget how to love yourself. Subscribe so you never miss stories like mine. Stories of women who had to shatter before they could finally become whole again. I live in Savannah, Georgia. You know, the kind of place. Historic squares, cobblestone streets, Spanish moss dripping from ancient oak trees, like the city itself is weeping. It's the kind of beautiful that takes your breath away. The kind of beautiful that makes you forget ugly things can happen behind all those pretty painted doors. I'm a kindergarten teacher, have been for 22 years. I've spent my life surrounded by little voices and finger paintings and the kind of pure love only 5-year-olds know how to give. I never thought I'd become one of those women. You know the ones I mean. The ones on the news. The ones people whisper about at church. I never thought I'd be hiding bruises under long sleeves in the Georgia summer heat. But here I am, and I need you to understand how I got here. Marcus and I have been married for 16 years. 16 years. That's longer than some people stay alive. We met at a friend's barbecue back when I still believed love could fix anything. He was tall and kind, and he laughed at all my jokes even when they weren't funny. He brought me flowers on our second date. Yellow roses. Said they reminded him of sunshine, and so did I, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me paint you the picture of this morning first. Then I'll take you back to show you how we ended up here this morning. My dining room looked like something from a Southern Living magazine. I'm not exaggerating. I'd set the table with my grandmother's china. The set with the tiny blue flowers that she brought over from her mama's house before she passed. I'd never used it, not once. It was too precious, too special for everyday Dot. But today wasn't every day. I spread my best white linen tablecloth. Ironed it myself at 3 in the morning while Marcus snored upstairs. I set out fresh flowers from my garden, magnolias, big creamy white ones that smelled like heaven, and heartbreak all mixed together, and the food. Lord, the food. I made shrimp and grits with anvil sausage, the recipe my grandmother taught me before she died. Fluffy buttermilk pancakes stacked high and golden. Crispy bacon thick cut, just the way he liked it. Fresh squeezed orange juice in a crystal pitcher. Coffee brewing in that expensive machine. I bought myself last Christmas because Marcus said it was a waste of money. The whole house smelled like butter and coffee and something else. Determination. That's what it smelled like. The smell of a woman who'd finally had enough. I sat at the head of the table, my back straight, my hands folded in my lap. I was wearing my black dress. The simple one I wore to my father's funeral 2 years ago. Seemed fitting somehow. This felt like a funeral too. I'd pulled my hair back tight, put on my mama's pearl necklace, and I didn't touch the concealer in my bathroom. Not this time. My eye was swollen, almost shut. Purple and blue and angry. My jaw was bruised down to my neck. I looked like I'd been in a car accident. But I hadn't been in any accident. I'd been in my own kitchen with my own husband. I heard Marcus moving around upstairs. The shower running. His alarm going off 3 times because he always hit snooze. I sat there and I waited. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. But my hands? My hands were steady for the first time in years at 7:45. I heard his footsteps on the stairs, heavy, slow. The footsteps of a man who thought he owned the world. He walked into the dining room wearing his golf clothes. khakis, and a polo shirt. His hair still wet from the shower. He looked at the table, and I watched his face go through about 5 different expressions. First, confusion. His eyebrows came together. Then, surprise at all the food. Then his eyes landed on my face, on the bruise he'd put there, on my swollen eye. And you know what he did? He smiled. Not a sad smile. Not an apologetic smile. A satisfied smile, like he was proud of his work. Like seeing my destroyed face made him feel powerful. He sat down and reached for the bacon. Took 3 pieces like he was king of the castle. Shoved one in his mouth and talked while he chewed. "Well, well," he said, crumbs falling from his lips onto my grandmother's tablecloth. "Looks like you finally learned something. I told you. I told you all you needed was a little reminder of who's in charge around here." He laughed. Actually laughed. "This is how it should have been all along, baby. You cook, you clean, you keep your mouth shut. See, was that so hard?" I didn't say anything. I just watched him. Watched him eat my grandmother's food off my grandmother's plates. Watched him wipe his greasy fingers on my mother's linen napkin. Watched him sit there like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't destroyed 16 years in one swing of his fist. But what happened next changed everything. At exactly 8 o'clock, the doorbell rang. That simple sound cut through the morning like a knife through butter. I watched Marcus freeze. The bacon stopped halfway to his mouth. His jaw tightened. His eyes got dark. "Who the hell is that?" His voice was sharp, dangerous. "Denise, I told you I didn't want anybody coming over today. Who did you invite without asking me?" I stood up slowly, deliberately. I smoothed my black dress with my hands, and I looked him right in the eyes. "I invited them," I said. My voice was calm, cold. "You're going to sit right there and wait." I walked to the front door. Every step felt like I was walking toward freedom. I could feel his eyes burning holes in my back. Could feel his confusion turning into something else. Fear, maybe, uncertainty. Good. It was about time he felt what I'd been feeling for 3 years. I opened the door, and there they were. Deputy Sarah Mitchell in her tan uniform, her badge catching the morning light. Pastor James from First Baptist in his black suit and clerical collar. And my best friend, Regina, who I'd been lying to for 3 years. Her face red and tear-stained, clutching her purse like it was a weapon. They looked at my face, at my swollen eye, at the bruise spreading down my jaw. And I saw the flash of rage in all 3 of them. Pure, righteous rage. But they didn't say a word. They just followed me into the dining room. When Marcus saw them walk in, I swear to God, I watched his soul leave his body. He went pale. The bacon fell from his hand and landed on the floor. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. He looked at me, and for the first time in 3 years, I saw fear in his eyes. Real, genuine fear. "Denise," he finally managed to say. His voice was strangled, desperate. What? What is this? What's going on?" I didn't sit back down. I stayed standing at the head of the table, flanked by my pastor, my best friend, and an officer of the law. "This," I said, my voice steady and cold, "is the reckoning you've been running from for 3 years, Marcus. This is where it all ends." But I'm getting ahead of myself again. To really understand how we got here, to understand why I did what I did, you need to know our story from the beginning. You need to know who Marcus used to be, and who he became. In my living room, there's this shelf full of photo albums. The old-fashioned kind with the sticky pages and the clear plastic covers. I haven't looked at them in years. It hurt too much. But last night, after everything happened, I pulled them down. I needed to remember the first album is from when we started dating. God, we were so young. I was 30, he was 32. Fresh faces. Big dreams. There's this picture of us at a jazz festival downtown. I'm wearing a yellow sundress, and he's got his arm around my waist. We're both laughing at something. I can't remember what anymore. I remember thinking that day that I'd found my person. The one I'd been waiting for my whole life. The one who would protect me and cherish me and love me forever. Funny how wrong you can be about someone. There's another picture from about 10 years ago. Marcus at his company's awards banquet. He was a sales manager at a pharmaceutical company back then, one of the best in the Southeast. In the picture, he's holding a plaque. Top performer. His smile is so genuine, it hurts to look at now. I'm standing next to him in a silver dress, looking up at him like he hung the moon, because to me, he did. He was everything I'd ever wanted. Smart, ambitious, funny in that easy Southern way. He'd come home from work and tell me stories about his day. And I'd listen like it was the most fascinating thing in the world. We had date nights every Friday. He'd surprise me with little gifts. A book he knew I'd love. A piece of jewelry he saw in a shop window. He was gentle. That's the word, gentle. He'd hold my face in his hands and kiss me like I was something precious. I need you to understand this. I didn't marry a monster. I married a good man who became a monster. And that transformation, watching it happen day by day, month by month, that's a special kind of torture that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. The change started about 3 years ago. That's when everything fell apart. That's when the man I married started. It's disappearing. It started with his job. Marcus had been at his company for 15 years. Worked his way up from nothing. He was proud of that. Talked about it all the time. How he'd started in the mailroom and ended up in the corner office. Classic American dream stuff. But then there was a restructuring. Corporate politics. New management came in and they wanted their own people. Marcus was pushed out. They called it a layoff. Gave him a severance package and a handshake and sent him home. At first I thought we'd get through it. We had savings. He was talented. He'd find something else. But he'd DIDN single quotes T. month after month. He'd send out resumes and nothing. He was 47 years old. In his industry, that was ancient. Companies wanted fresh blood, cheap blood, not experienced managers with high salary expectations. The rejection ate at him. I could see it. Every week, something in him got darker, harder. He stopped laughing at my jokes, stopped bringing me flowers, stopped looking at me like I was something precious. Then the drinking started at first. It was just a beer or two in the evening. To take the edge off, he said. Then it was bourbon. Then it was bourbon before noon. He'd sit in his home office pretending to look for jobs. But I'd find the empty bottles hidden in the trash. I tried to talk to him about it. Tried to suggest counseling. He shut me down every time. I don't need a shrink. He'd snap. I need a job. I need my wife to support me instead of nagging me. So I stopped bringing it up. I learned to stay quiet. I learned to make myself small, but I had no idea what was coming. The first time he grabbed me was about 2 years ago. We were arguing about money. I bought groceries without checking with him first, spent an extra $40 on some items we needed. He lost his mind. Started yelling about how we had to be careful, how I was spending money we didn't have. I tried to walk away. That's all. I just tried to leave the room. He grabbed my wrist, grabbed it hard enough that I gasped. His fingers dug in like claws, and he yanked me back toward him. Don't you dare walk away from me when I'm talking to you, he hissed. His face was inches from mine. I could smell the bourbon on his breath. You don't get to leave until I say you can leave. He held my wrist for what felt like forever. When he finally let go, there were red marks. 5 of them. 1 for each finger. They turned into bruises by morning. I wore long sleeves for a week. Told my coworkers I was cold. In Savannah. In July, that night, I almost left. I packed a bag, had it on the bed, was putting my toothbrush in the side pocket when Marcus appeared in the doorway. He looked at the bag and his face crumpled. He fell to his knees. Actually got on his knees in our bedroom and started crying. He sobbed. He apologized. He swore it would never happen again. He said he didn't know what came over him. He said he loved me. He said he'd die without me. He wrapped his arms around my waist and cried like a little boy. And God help me, I believed him. I unpacked the bag. I held him while he cried. I told him it was okay. Told him we'd get through this together. Told him I forgave him because that's what wives do, right? That's what love means. Standing by your partner when things get hard. That's what my mama taught me. That's what I believed. But it did happen again. Of course it did. It happened again and again and again. Not every day. Not even every week. But often enough that I started living on eggshells. I learned to read his moods from the sound of his footsteps. I learned which topics to avoid. Don't mention money. Don't mention his job search. Don't ask too many questions. Don't breathe too loud. I shrank my whole life down to fit inside his anger. And the physical stuff got worse. The grabs became shoves. The shoves became slams against walls. He'd corner me in the kitchen and scream in my face until spit landed on my cheeks. He'd throw things. Not at me, not at first, but close enough that I'd flinch. He isolated me from my friends. Made comments whenever I wanted to go out. Going to gossip with your girlfriends? Going to tell them what a failure your husband is. It was easier to just stay home. So I stopped going to book club. Stopped having coffee with Regina. Stopped calling my sister as much. I disappeared inch by inch. And nobody noticed. Or if they did, they didn't say anything. The verbal abuse was almost worse than the physical. He'd mock my job. Kindergarten teacher, he'd sneer. Playing with paste and finger paints. That's not a real job. He'd compare me to other women. Women who were prettier, thinner, more supportive. Women who knew how to keep their husbands happy. I started avoiding mirrors. Started wearing baggy clothes. I felt myself getting smaller in every way possible. About a year ago, tried to leave again. I'd found an apartment listed online. A small one-bedroom on the other side of the river. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I went to see it during my lunch break. Filled out an application. Let myself imagine a life without fear. That night, Marcus found the application in my purse. I don't know what he was looking for in there. Maybe my phone. Maybe my wallet. But he found the paper and his face went red. What is this? His voice was so quiet it scared me more than yelling would have. Marcus, I can't do this anymore. I think we need some space. He spit the word like poison. You want space from your husband. After everything I've given you, you want to abandon me just like everyone else. He advanced on me. I backed up until my back hit the bedroom wall. You're not going anywhere, he said. You belong here. You belong to me. You understand? I nodded. What else could I do? He ripped up the application, threw the pieces at my feet, and I knew I was trapped. The months after that were the darkest of my life. I went through the motions, taught my classes, came home, cooked dinner, tried to be invisible. I felt like a ghost haunting my own house. Regina tried to reach out. She knew something was wrong. She'd ask me if I was okay, and I'd lie. Say I was just tired. Just stressed. She'd look at me with doubt in her eyes, but she didn't push. Looking back, I wish she had. I wish someone had pushed harder. But I was so good at pretending. So good at making everything look normal, then came last. Last night changed everything. Last. Night started like any other. Night, quiet, tense. The kind of quiet that feels like holding your breath underwater. I'd made dinner. Pot roast with potatoes and carrots. His favorite? I'd learned that making his favorites sometimes kept the peace. Sometimes, not always. But sometimes he wasn't home yet. It was almost 9 o'clock. He'd been going out more lately. Said he was networking, looking for job leads. But he always came home smelling like bourbon and cigarettes. And his mood was always dark. I was cleaning up the kitchen when I heard his car pull into the driveway. The engine cut off. Then silence. I held my breath, listening. The car door slammed hard. My stomach dropped. A hard slam was never good. I heard his keys miss the lock twice before he got it in. The door swung open and hit the wall. I flinched at the sound. He stumbled into the hallway, and I knew immediately he was drunk. More drunk than usual. He came into the kitchen. The smell hit me first. Bourbon and smoke and sweat. His eyes were bloodshot. His shirt was untucked. His hair was a mess. He looked at me, and I saw something in his eyes that made my blood run cold. Something darker than anger. Something that looked almost like hatred. "Where's my dinner?" His voice was slurred but sharp. "It's in the oven," I said carefully. "I kept it warm for you." Don't tell me what you're going to do." He cut me off. "I'm so sick of you telling me what you're going to do." I stayed quiet. I'd learned that quiet was safest. He walked past me to the counter. That's when he saw it. My laptop was open. I'd been looking at something earlier and forgot to close it. Forgot to hide it. An article about domestic violence. A list of warning signs. A hotline number. He stared at the screen. I watched his face change. Confusion, then understanding. Then rage. "What the hell is this?" He pointed at the screen. His hand was shaking. "What the hell is this, Denise? It's nothing. You were just, what?" He spun around to face me, looking up how to leave me, looking up how to make me look like some kind of monster. "No, Marcus. I was just reading an article. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "My wife is reading about domestic violence warning signs, and it doesn't mean anything." He slammed the laptop shut so hard I thought he'd break it. "You think I don't know what you're doing?" His voice was rising. "You think I'm stupid? You're trying to build a case against me. You're trying to figure out how to destroy my life just like everyone else. That's not true." My voice was shaking now. "Marcus, please. I love you. You're just what?" He was in my face now, close enough that I could smell the bourbon on his breath, feel the heat of his rage. "You're just trying to leave me. You're just trying to make me look bad. After everything I've done for you."
"You haven't done anything for me in years." The words came out before I could stop them. Years of fear and frustration bubbling up all at once. "All you've done is hurt me and scare me and make me feel like I'm nothing." I knew the second the words left my mouth that I'd made a mistake. His face went blank, empty, and that scared me more than the rage. "What did you just say to me?" "Marcus, I'm sorry. I didn't mean." "What did you just say to me?" His voice was quiet now, deadly quiet. "Please," I whispered. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." But it was too late. His hand came up. I thought he was gonna grab me, thought he was gonna shove me against the counter like he'd done before, but his hand kept going. It came across my face, so fast I didn't even have time to flinch. The force of it snapped my head to the side. I felt my teeth cut into my cheek, tasted blood instantly. The pain exploded across my face like lightning. I stumbled backward. My hip caught the edge of the counter. I grabbed onto it to keep from falling, but my legs were shaking so bad I almost went down anyway. He hit me. After 3 years of building up to it, after all the grabbing and shoving and screaming, he'd finally crossed that line. He hit me in the face like I was nothing. I stood there with my hand pressed against my throbbing cheek, blood in my mouth, tears streaming down my face, and I looked at him, really looked at him. I didn't recognize the man standing in front of me. This wasn't Marcus. This wasn't the man who brought me yellow roses on our second date. This wasn't the man who danced with me at jazz festivals. This wasn't my husband. This was a stranger wearing his face. And he wasn't sorry. He looked at his own hand like he couldn't quite believe what it had done. But his face wasn't apologetic. It was cold, empty, like he'd just swatted a fly instead of hitting his wife. "Look what you made me do," he said. His voice was flat. "This is your fault. If you just learned to keep your mouth shut, none of this would happen." I couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. "Clean yourself up," he said. "You're bleeding on the floor." Then he turned and walked out, just walked out, like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just destroyed everything we'd ever been. I heard him go upstairs, heard the bedroom door slam, and I stood there in the kitchen with blood dripping from my mouth onto my tile floor. And something inside me broke. But it wasn't my spirit. It was the chains. 3 years of chains. Chains made of hope that he'd change. Chains made of fear that I couldn't survive without him. Chains made of shame and guilt and all the lies I'd told myself to keep going. Those chains shattered, and what was left was clarity. Cold, sharp, beautiful clarity. I walked to the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. The woman staring back at me had blood on her chin, a swelling eye that was already turning purple, a bruise blooming across her jaw like a dark flower. But her eyes were different. Her eyes were awake. I washed my face with cold water. It stung like fire, but I welcomed the pain. It reminded me I was still alive, still here, still fighting. I pressed a cold cloth against my eye until the swelling went down a little. Then I went back to the kitchen. And I made a decision. I wasn't gonna call the police right then. I wasn't gonna pack a bag and run to my sister's house 3 states away. Because I knew Marcus. I knew how he operated. If I left in the middle of the night, bruised and scared, it would be my word against his. And his word still carried weight in this town. He was charming when he wanted to be, convincing. He'd cry and apologize and claim it was a misunderstanding. He'd say I was exaggerating, that I was emotional, that marriages have rough patches. And people might believe him. No, I needed to do this differently. I needed witnesses. I needed proof. I needed to make sure that when he tried to twist the story, there'd be people who'd seen my face with their own eyes. People who couldn't be swayed by his charm or his tears. So I started planning. Right there at midnight, with a swollen eye and blood on my lips, standing in my kitchen where he'd just hit me, I planned his downfall. And mine too, in a way, because I knew that doing this would mean the end of my marriage, the end of 16 years, the end of the woman I'd been. But that woman was already dead. She died when his fist connected with her face. What I was doing now was building something new from the ashes. The first person I called was Regina, my best friend, the one I'd been lying to for 3 years, the one who'd tried so hard to reach me and I'd pushed away. The phone rang 4 times before she answered. Her voice was thick with sleep. "Denise, baby, it's almost 1 a.m. What's wrong?" And I told her. I told her everything. About the drinking, about the anger, about the control and the isolation, about the grabbing and shoving, about the fear I'd been living with for 3 years, and about tonight. She didn't interrupt. She just listened. And when I finished, I heard her crying on the other end of the line. "I'm coming over right now," she said. "I'm getting in my car." "No," I said. "Not now. I need you to come in the morning. 8:00 a.m. sharp. Can you do that?" "Denise, what are you planning?" "Justice," I said. "I'm planning justice. Will you be here?" "I'll be there," she said. "I'll be there, baby. I love you. I'm so sorry I didn't push harder. I'm so sorry I didn't." "Don't apologize," I said. "Just be here tomorrow." The second call was to Pastor James. He'd married us. He'd counseled us through some hard times early in our marriage, before things got really bad. He was a good man, a godly man, a man who believed in the sanctity of marriage but also in the sanctity of human life. He answered on the second ring, like he'd been waiting for a call he hoped would never come. "Sister Denise," he said, "is everything all right?" "No, Pastor," I said. "Everything is not all right, and I need to tell you something. I need you to just listen." I told him too, not everything, not all 3 years, but enough, about Marcus's anger, about his drinking, about tonight, about the bruise on my face and the swelling eye. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that made me cry. "Sister Denise, I've known something was wrong for a while now. I should have reached out. I should have pushed. I failed you, and I am deeply sorry." "You didn't fail me, Pastor. I failed myself by staying quiet." "What do you need from me?" he asked. "I need you to come to my house tomorrow morning. 8:00 a.m. I need you to be a witness. I need you to see what he's done. And I need you to stand with me when I do what I have to do." "I'll be there," he said, without hesitation. "I'll be there. And I'll bring the weight of our faith with me. You are not alone, sister. You have never been alone." The third call was the hardest. Deputy Sarah Mitchell. She went to our church. Her kids were in my class 3 years ago. She'd given me her card once after seeing me at the grocery store with a bruise on my arm that I'd tried to hide with a cardigan. She'd looked at me with knowing eyes and pressed that card into my hand. "Call me if you ever need anything," she'd said. "Anything at all." I'd kept that card in my wallet for 2 years, took it out sometimes, looked at it, put it back. Tonight, I finally dialed the number. She answered on the third ring. "Deputy Mitchell." "Sarah, it's Denise Warren, from church. I'm sorry to call so late." There was a pause, then her voice changed, softer, more careful. "Denise, what's going on? Are you okay?" "No," I said. "I'm not okay, and I need your help." I told her everything. And Sarah, being a cop, being trained for this, went into professional mode immediately. "Where is he now?" "Upstairs, asleep." "Are you safe right now? Do I need to send a car?" "I'm safe for now, but I need you to come tomorrow morning. 8:00 a.m. I'm gonna confront him with witnesses, and then I'm gonna file charges." "Denise, I should come now. I should arrest him tonight." "No," I said firmly. "This is my house, my life, and I need to do this my way. Please, Sarah, trust me." She sighed. 8:00 a.m. I'll be there. But if anything happens before then, you call 911 immediately. Promise me." "I promise." After I hung up, I looked at the clock. It was almost 2:00 in the morning. I had 6 hours until they'd arrive. 6 hours to prepare. 6 hours to turn this house from my prison into my courtroom. I started cooking. I know it sounds crazy, but I needed something to do with my hands, something to keep my mind focused. And there was something symbolic about it, too. For 3 years, I'd cooked meals that he criticized or ignored or complained about. But this meal would be different. This would be the last meal I ever cooked for him. And it would be perfect. I took out my grandmother's cast iron skillet, the one she'd given me when I got married. "This skillet has cooked for 3 generations of strong women," she'd said. "Now it's yours." I made shrimp and grits from scratch, the kind my grandmother used to make with cream and cheese and andouille sausage. The smell filled the kitchen. While they simmered, I made buttermilk pancakes, mixed the batter by hand, cooked each one until it was golden and perfect. I fried bacon, thick cut, crispy on the edges, just the way he liked it. The irony of cooking his favorite foods for his last breakfast in this house wasn't lost on me. I squeezed fresh oranges for juice, programmed the coffee maker to brew at 7:30. Everything had to be perfect. Everything had to be ready. Around 3:00 in the morning, I thought about my face. I went to my bathroom and looked at my makeup drawer. I had concealer, the heavy-duty kind. I'd been using it for 3 years to cover bruises on my arms, my neck, my shoulders. I picked up the tube, held it in my hand. I could cover the bruise. I could hide what he'd done, make it less shocking for everyone. Then I threw it in the trash. The whole tube. No more hiding. No more protecting him from consequences. They needed to see. Regina needed to see. Pastor James needed to see. Deputy Mitchell needed to see. And Marcus needed to see what he'd done in the cold light of morning, without alcohol blurring his memory, without anger justifying it, just the plain, undeniable truth written on my face. Around 4:00 in the morning, I did something else, something I'd been too scared to do before. I'd bought a small camera online a few months ago, one of those hidden ones that looks like a phone charger. It was still in the box in my closet. I got it out, read the instructions, set it up on the bookshelf in the dining room, angled so it would record the table. I also had a Ring doorbell I'd bought but never installed because Marcus said it was a waste of money. Tonight, I installed it myself. Took me longer than it should have, but I figured it out. From now on, everything that happened would be recorded. Every word, every confession, every piece of evidence I might need later. By 6:00, the sky was turning from black to purple to pink. The house smelled like coffee and bacon and hope. I set the table with my grandmother's china, the plates I'd never used because they were too precious. I spread my best linen tablecloth, arranged magnolias in the center, everything beautiful, everything perfect. I got dressed at 6:30, my black dress, my mama's pearls, hair pulled back tight. I looked at myself in the mirror and I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. She had a swollen eye, a bruised jaw, but she stood tall. Her back was straight, her eyes were clear. She looked like a warrior. By 7:30, I was sitting at the head of the dining room table, waiting. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. At 7:45, I heard Marcus's alarm go off upstairs. Heard him hit snooze, then again, then again. Finally, I heard him get up, heard the shower start, heard him moving around like it was any other morning. Like he hadn't destroyed our marriage 12 hours ago. At 7:55, his footsteps came down the stairs, and the rest you already know. He sat down, he ate my food, he smiled at my bruised face. He said those words. "Looks like you finally learned something." And then the doorbell rang. And everything changed. When Deputy Mitchell, Pastor James, and Regina walked into that dining room, I watched my husband's whole world collapse. I watched the color drain from his face. Watched his hands start shaking. Watched him look around for an escape that didn't exist. "What is this?" he kept saying. "Denise, what is this?" And I told him. I told him everything. In front of witnesses, in front of a police officer. I told him about the 3 years of abuse. The grabbing, the shoving, the isolation, the fear, and last night. "Last night you crossed a line that can never be uncrossed," I said. "You hit me. You looked at my face and you hit me. And then you walked away like it was nothing. Like I was nothing." Marcus tried to speak. "Denise, please, let me explain. I was drunk. I wasn't thinking clearly. No," I cut him off. "No more explanations, no more excuses. You did this. You made these choices. And now you're gonna face the consequences." Pastor James stepped forward. "Brother Marcus," he said, and his voice was heavy with disappointment. "I've known you for years. I married you and Sister Denise in our sanctuary. And I'm telling you now, what you've done is a sin against God and against your wife. I don't see a repentant man before me. I see a man who got caught." Regina was crying. "How could you?" she said. "How could you hurt her like this? She loved you. She stayed with you through everything. And this is how you treat her." Marcus looked around the room, looked at all of us, and I could see the realization dawning on his face. There was no way out, no charm that would work, no tears that would save him. The evidence was on my face. The witnesses were in the room. The law was standing by the door. Deputy Mitchell stepped forward. She pulled out her handcuffs. "Mr. Warren," she said, "I need you to stand up and place your hands behind your back." "No," Marcus said, panic flooding his voice. "No, you can't arrest me. I have a reputation. People know me. You can't." "You should have thought about that before you put your hands on your wife," Sarah said. "Stand up, now." He looked at me one last time, and I saw it. The moment he realized I wasn't gonna save him, that I wasn't gonna back down or change my mind or make excuses for him. The woman who would have done that was gone. "Stand up," Sarah said again. Marcus stood, slowly. His legs were shaking. He put his hands behind his back. Sarah cuffed him, and the click of the metal was the loudest sound in the room. She read him his rights. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you." I watched it happen. Watched my husband of 16 years get arrested in our dining room, at our table, on my grandmother's china. And I felt 1,000 things at once. Grief, relief, fear, guilt, but most of all, freedom. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like I could breathe. As Sarah led him toward the door, he turned to look at me. "You're gonna regret this," he said. "You're gonna be alone, and you're gonna regret it." I met his eyes. "Maybe," I said, "but I'll regret it alive. I'll regret it free, and that's more than I've had in 3 years." They took him away. I heard the front door close, heard the car start, heard it drive away until there was nothing but silence. And that's when I finally let myself fall apart. I sat down in my chair and I cried. Huge, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere deep inside me. I cried for the marriage I'd lost, for the man I'd loved who'd become someone I feared, for the 3 years I'd wasted being afraid. Regina held me. Pastor James prayed over me, and I let them. I let them hold me up because I was too tired to hold myself. But even as I cried, even as my heart broke into a million pieces, I knew something. I knew I was gonna be okay. For the first time in 3 years, I knew I was gonna be okay. The days after the arrest were strange. The house felt different, bigger somehow, emptier. Every creak of the floorboards made me jump. Every shadow in the hallway made my heart race. But it was quiet. For the first time in 3 years, my house was quiet. No heavy footsteps to analyze, no moods to predict, no eggshells to walk on. Just quiet. Regina stayed with me for the first week. She took time off work, said she wasn't leaving me alone. She slept in the guest room and made me tea every morning and held my hand when I cried. And I cried a lot. I cried for the marriage I'd lost, for the man Marcus used to be, for the 16 years that felt like a waste now. I cried for the woman I'd been before all this started, the woman who laughed easily and loved freely. I missed her. I didn't know if I'd ever find her again. But I also felt something else underneath all that grief. Relief. Every morning I woke up and remembered that he wasn't there, that I didn't have to check his mood, didn't have to make myself small, didn't have to be afraid. And that relief was like oxygen after years of holding my breath. The arrest made local news. Small town. Word travels fast. Savannah man arrested on domestic violence charges. They didn't use his picture, but people knew. Of course they knew. Everybody knows everybody in a town like this. Some people were supportive. Cards arrived at my door. Flowers. Casseroles from church ladies who'd heard what happened. Notes that said things like, "You're so brave and we're praying for you." Some people weren't supportive. There were whispers. I heard them at the grocery store, at church, even at work. She must have provoked him. Every marriage has problems. Why didn't she just leave earlier? She probably exaggerated. Those whispers hurt. I won't lie. They cut deep. But Regina helped me understand something important. The people who doubt you, she said, they're scared. They're scared because if it happened to you, it could happen to them. And they don't want to believe that. So they find reasons why you're different, why it was your fault, because that makes them feel safe. She was right. And once I understood that, the whispers hurt a little less. Marcus was charged with simple assault. First offense, they said. He got bail quickly. His lawyer argued he was a respected member of the community, a former business professional, not a flight risk. But there was a restraining order. He couldn't come within 500 feet of me, couldn't contact me except through lawyers, couldn't set foot in our house. Our house, my house now. The first night alone was the hardest. Regina had finally gone home. I'd insisted. She had her own life, her own family. She couldn't stay forever. I remember sitting on the couch at 10:00 at night. The house was so quiet I could hear the clock ticking in the hallway. Every noise made me tense up, the refrigerator humming, a car passing outside, the wind against the windows. I didn't sleep that night. I sat up in bed with all the lights on, jumping at shadows. But the second night was a little easier, and the third night easier than that. And slowly, night by night, I started to feel safe in my own home again. I changed the locks first thing, got a whole new security system, cameras at every entrance, motion sensor lights in the yard, a new deadbolt on the front door that only I had the key to. Some people might think that's paranoid, but to me, it was taking back control. It was saying this is my space now, and I decide who enters it. I started therapy about 2 weeks after the arrest. Dr. Elaine Morris, a trauma specialist who worked with domestic violence survivors. Her office was warm and cozy with soft lighting and plants everywhere. She had a gentle voice and kind eyes, and she never once made me feel judged. The first few sessions, I couldn't even talk. I'd sit there and cry, just cry. All the tears I'd been holding back for 3 years came flooding out. But slowly, I started finding words. I told her about the guilt, how part of me felt like it was my fault, like I should have seen the signs earlier, should have left sooner, should have been smarter. That guilt, Dr. Morris said, it's not yours to carry. You didn't make him hurt you. He made that choice, and you survived. That's not weakness, Denise, that's strength. I told her about the shame, how embarrassed I was that I'd stayed so long, that I'd let it get so bad, that I'd lied to everyone who loved me. Shame thrives in silence, she said. But you're not silent anymore. You spoke up. You told your truth. And every time you tell it, the shame gets smaller. I told her about the fear. How even now, even with Marcus gone, I was still afraid. Afraid he'd come back. Afraid he'd find a way around the restraining order. Afraid that I'd never feel safe again. Fear is normal after what you've been through, she said. Your brain learned to be afraid to keep you alive. Now we have to teach it that you're safe. That takes time, but it will happen. And she was right. It did happen, not quickly, not easily. But slowly, session by session, week by week, the fear loosened its grip. I also joined a support group. Women who'd been through what I'd been through. We met every Thursday night in the basement of First Baptist Church. 8 women sitting in a circle, sharing our stories. The first time I walked in, I almost turned around and left. But then a woman named Patricia smiled at me. She had kind eyes and gray hair and a scar on her chin that she didn't try to hide. You're in the right place, she said. Sit down, we've got you. And they did. Those women got me. They understood the particular hell of loving someone who hurts you. They understood the guilt and the shame and the fear. They understood why I'd stayed so long. They didn't judge me. They just held me up. We shared our stories and our strength. We cried together and laughed together. And slowly, I started to feel less alone. The divorce was finalized 4 months after the arrest. Marcus didn't fight me on it. I don't know if it was guilt or exhaustion or just acceptance that he'd lost. But he signed the papers without argument. I got the house. I got my grandmother's china. I got my freedom. On the day the divorce was final, I sat alone in my kitchen with a cup of coffee. IL.